Hey, everybody, check out episode 24 of Pelotero Pickle, where we'll get into the life and times of Hank Aaron, the impact he had on the game of baseball. Obviously, recap the NFL and the upcoming Super Bowl and the McGregor-Poirier fight that happened this past weekend.
Oh, Pickle, episode 24. It's January 25th. Chris, how you doing?
I got one thing to say to you, kid, and it's not even about Tommy. Clear eyes, full heart, can't lose.
Tell you what, I can see my eyes are not swollen today. Prednisone is the best thing ever.
I mean, let's preface that a little bit, like where that's.
If you're suffering from sinus infection, bronchitis, and cedar fever, prednisone is the best thing ever.
Thank you. Good. Yep. Well said. Now we won't get sued.
Yep. Still a little scratchy, a little coffee, but feel like myself. I can think. This is nice. It's good. I'm back.
You know who else is back?
Your boy Tom Brady.
Tom Brady is back for number 10, kid. What else is there to say, man?
Let's save him for post show. There's more stuff we can talk about. We'll do a full NFL breakdown, but let's start with the passing of Hank Aaron. I've said for a long time he's like the most under the radar best player. Like, he deserves so much more attention and accolades for what he achieved in the game. Patrick wants to know if you've ever met him. I'm not sure that you have, but just in general, what's his legacy as a player, as a person, as a hitter? Where does he rank in terms of the conversation of best hitter of all time? What do you got?
I think I was in the same building as him once, meaning like a stadium, but I never got to interact with him. And if I had, I would have been just overwhelmed, literally overwhelmingly nervous to the point where, I wouldn't even have been able to say anything. Like, foundation of words would have been incredibly difficult. To me, Hank Aaron represents consistency at its finest in hitting, right? He's just played every day. Not a ridiculous athlete. I'm sure early in his career he was, but like to the point where toward the end of his career had trouble even running down the baselines. But all he did was hit, man. He just incredible career, incredible legacy to the game. I hate that people try to downplay what he accomplished or hold the Barry Bonds thing over his head and, try to make the 755, 756 thing less than it was, because it was such an amazing feat, right? Like, Babe Ruth was this larger than life, iconic human, and he's really body type, persona, charisma, character that, you'd expect. His nickname was the Babe. The Babe had 30 nicknames, the Bambino, the Sultan of SWAT. Like, he was larger than the game. And Hank happened to just be this young African-American kid who came into the game and just kept pounding out 20, 25, 30, 35 homers at a time and just kept doing the same thing over and over again. And it was almost to the point where I think people got like bored of it, or they became accustomed to it. But to have that kind of consistency over time from a baseball perspective is, I mean, it's earth-shattering, right? It's overwhelming to think about. And I could see how you would get lost in the shuffle, but at the same time, when you really take a deep dive into what he did and what he accomplished, and for the game and for African Americans in the game, just astounding, really. And baseball lost a great one, man. And it's unfortunate because, as we get older, that, more people pass away in your life. But all you can do is celebrate him, and his mark will be everlasting, whether, he's one on that list or whatever he is. He just, maybe he didn't have enough VBA. That's why people didn't like him. They didn't have enough vertical bat.
He had a very flat swing. I just counted. I think he had 13 seasons, top 10 MVP. It says 25-time All-Star. I'm assuming that it includes Negro League. I saw one thing. Did you guys see the picture of when he was like getting on the train for the first time, like leaving home? He's like just this little kid with $1.50 in his pocket, heading out to go play ball for the first time. Pretty wild. Didn't go to high school, didn't play in high school. I saw a scouting report on him. They were like, oh, what's his previous playing competition? And they were like, he's played like 3 months of the Negro Leagues, and that was it. and he went to Milwaukee because they gave him $50 more than the Giants first contract. $50 more, 50. It's like some independent
5-0,
stuff right there. Yeah. His 162 average. I love looking at 162 average. 185 hits, 31 doubles, 37 homers, 113 RBI, 305 batting average, 928 OPS, all-time leader in total bases, all-time leader in RBI. I mean, he played for 23 years, and his 162 average was 37 homers, 305 average. Like
he epitomizes consistency, man. And if you go look at his year by year, they're not going to be far off that, right? He didn't lay an egg. He didn't lay any eggs in 25 years. You know, he didn't have a year where he hit 220 with 16.
He had a 279, but he had 44 homers. 44. Yeah. He had 1 year with 45 homers. He had 1 year with 47 homers, and they had 4 years with 44 homers. Yeah. He just produced over and over and over again.
Showed up and did his job, man. That's what he was all about.
He had a season with 31 stolen bases. I mean, in 1963, he hit 319 with 130 RBI, 44 homers, 31 bags, and was third in MVP.
You know what's crazy to me is the game would almost rather see, or the media or whoever you want to put it, the fans would rather see somebody that isn't doing it, who's having a monster year, than they would appreciate the greatness that it takes to have sustained success over time. It's almost the paradigm of Mike Trout right now. Yeah, exactly. It's almost the same thing. It's like, oh, well, I expect this guy to hit 300 with 40 and knock in 110, you know? And it's such a disservice. Lack of appreciation for it is almost bewildering to me, because, you know, I think that's what baseball players are supposed to be. Those are the kind of guys that I dreamt of being when I grew up, guys that just came with it all the time. Held myself to that standard as a player, and I think more people should, to be honest with you.
Yeah, and it's actually interesting to compare him to Trout, because Trout is also kind of under the radar when it comes to marketability and putting himself out there. Obviously, Hank was playing in a much different era when it comes to social media and access and, you know, relying on newspapers. This is, you know, I don't even know what the television situation was, like how many games a week were on TV when Hank played. You know, this is a guy you had to go out and watch, actually play and read about in the newspaper. And, you know, the reality of it too, when you compare him to like a Babe Ruth was this media darling, doing endorsements, you know, all that. You know, I'm sure race had something to do with Hank in terms of getting opportunities for that, or maybe he just didn't want to do it. I don't know the answer to that, but he just kind of just went about his business. It's very Mike Trout-like in that regard.
I think the worst thing about it is people's interpretation of his feelings toward everything that happened after, whether it be with Barry or the game moving forward. I feel like he's just a very misunderstood man, and I don't think he ever necessarily played the game for glory as much as he did for love and passion. And I think he's so far removed from what society sees. It's like you know, you live in this world of heroes and villains, and we need to polarize everything and really make it about, you know, the underlying story instead of what's actually happening. And I think this guy stood for everything that was in between those two and just did his work and came to work every day, showed up like a lunch pail type of guy. And again, I think there's been so much, you know, from the time when Bonds, you know, broke the record. Obviously there was a big lead up to it, huge build up. And I don't think people really got to see what he was about, because I was reading Howard Bryant, I think, the other day in ESPN, and he's talking about his experiences with Hank and how much he appreciated him, and like just the talks they had, his politeness, his kindness. It's a special man, and it's really, you know, at the end of the day, individuals, I think, can really rest on their own laurels, and I think you figure out that's what matters is, you know, your relationship with the people that are closest to you. But it's such a disservice to the game to me that more people don't look at Hank Aaron and go, yeah, he's just everything that the game should be.
Yeah, it's not a top of mind type of name that will pop up. In terms of the greatest right-handed hitter of all time conversation, I've got some stats pulled up. Manny Ramirez is often thrown in there. He is a career 312 hitter, 162 average, was 39 homers, 38 doubles, 129 RBI. Right in that same ballpark. Albert Pujols, 299 career hitter, 37 homers for his 162, 119 RBI. Miguel Cabrera, 313, 32 homers, 114 RBI. If Hank played in today's game and put up those numbers, he'd be superstar, absolute superstar.
Aaron's longevity is what's so incredible. Like 25 years, 25-time All-Star. Like, what are we talking about?
It's absurd.
How's that possible?
He played from 1954 to 1976 in the big leagues. Like, what?
It's crazy.
It's a long time to play, and what can you say about that career besides
how many people even have 20-year careers? Think about that. Like the guys you just mentioned, Pujols, Cabrera.
Cabrera's 18 years in. Pujols is 20. Manny's got 19. But his last couple were kind of washouts.
So when you look at the three guys we just mentioned, like significant tail off, right? Like Miggy hasn't been himself in probably a couple years. I would say 3. Pujols really has been kind of a shell of himself for the last 4, probably.
Mm-hmm.
And Manny had 2 years where it was just Manny, I guess. But this guy, he never stopped. He just didn't stop. Could have hit till he was 100. Crazy. You can figure out how to roll 3 hits out 2 weeks ago, I bet.
So let's go this. Let's go Mount Rushmore, because when you look at a player of his caliber, you have to start looking at historical context. So producer Patrick asked us for all-time and modern Mount Rushmores. I took notes. I got like today's players, like active player Mount Rushmore, modern player, and then all-time. Where do you want to start?
So this is going to be such a hard conversation just in general.
So I think it's good to like not look up names. I try not to look up names.
Yeah.
Because it's like who comes to mind?
Comes to mind.
Not like, oh, let me go search for somebody, because I think the Rushmore thing is more status.
Persona, impact,
not so much about the stats.
But
the stats are important. The stats have to be there, but they're not NLBO.
I think because of that, right? If you look, there's no scenario in where, unless somebody's really a baseball historian, like I can never appreciate Ted Williams, right? Like in a way that others
Ted Williams, Stan Musial, Honest Wagner.
It's the same way. It's the same way if we talk to a 5-year-old or 8-year-old kid right now, or even 12-year-old or 15-year-old, and you ask them LeBron or Jordan, and they'll like, most of them be like, LeBron. They never got to watch Jordan. They never got to sense and feel and touch and see what the Jordan era was all about. Now we're talking about an icon of all icons, right? And Jordan. So it's different. This guy's had shoes made for him. He hasn't picked up a basketball in 10 years or whatever it is, 15 years. But it's hard, man. It's hard for me to, like, being a baseball guy. Ruth is on the all-time Rushmore, right? He has to be. What he did as a generational figure in terms of, like, this guy was out homering teams. Like, can you even conceptualize?
I think he out homered the league one year.
Can you conceptualize that? How crazy is that, man? Like, New York Mets or the Brooklyn Dodgers hit, 48 homers this year. Ruth hit 53. Like, what? That's crazy. And then to hear people like Adam Ottavino, who's really never done anything in the game.
Just got traded to the Red Sox, by the way.
Yeah, like I would strike that guy out. Well, he went to Northeastern, didn't he?
Yep.
So
I believe he's from Canada.
No, he's a local kid, isn't he?
I believe he's from Canada.
Maybe you're right. I don't know.
Northeastern has because he was, I think, a freshman my senior year. We crossed barely one of the years when I was at Vermont, and he was at Northeastern. I don't even remember if I ever faced him or not, but I remember Northeastern had this connection with some scholarship deal with Canada.
Well, anyway, Ruth, and saying, "Hey, I would strike out Babe Ruth on 3 pitches," is so irresponsible and reprehensible, and like you should get fined for that. Literally, you should get suspended. Like, what are we talking about? It's probably the greatest hitter of all time. How many? We're putting 4 on Rushmore because there's 4 on Rushmore.
Supposed to be 4.
So Ruth's 1. You got Ruth up there.
I got Ruth for sure.
All right, let's stagger it. You go next.
I got to put Williams up there because just again impact in the game.
Yeah, Williams has to be on mine too. So that's 2. Those are 2 that I had checked off. So now it's my turn. Barry.
I have Barry.
Yeah. Barry.
Last one I have a couple written down, but I think like if I can project a little bit, I'm putting Trout on there.
I'm not projecting. Screw projecting. I'm not projecting. Mays,
Aaron. I got Cy Young written down just because.
You know what's scary is we're having.
It makes sense. We had to talk the other day about how the modern game, like, will there ever be a starting pitcher to get the last out of a game?
No.
In a World Series Game 7, starting pitcher finishes.
No chance.
Is that ever going to happen again? At least,
no shot. How annoying is that? It's brutal. That's brutal.
You get a guy like Cy Young, who, like, didn't he throw like a billion innings and his numbers just.
Those guys didn't know how to come out of the game, dude. They wasn't a thing. It's annoying. It's tired.
Was a roster smaller then?
Who cares?
I've never thought about that. Maybe I'm just curious more than anything. If the roster was 20,
how many catchers play more than 110 games nowadays, or 120?
Yeah, but it's the efficiency of the business. How about this? We talked about Babe Ruth hitting more homers in teams or leagues. Like, is Babe Ruth the Bryson DeChambeau of baseball in 1920?
Probably.
Like what Trevor Bauer's doing and with the whole velocity thing. Like, if you look at it in that context, it's pretty interesting.
Yeah, we can't. That's why fundamentally
he completely changed how like offense was played.
We can never really appreciate generationally. Like, people call Bryson DeChambeau crazy, but all he is like the most forward thinking of the generation, right? That doesn't mean there weren't other, like in the 1940s, there weren't forward thinking guys playing the game, right? There's always forward thinkers, and there are always people that are behind the 8 ball, and there are always people that like want to just fit the mold of what they think is right. And that's the part where I get discouraged at people's perception of other humans and their judgments that they pass about shit that they really can't know at all. Sorry,
we got to change the child rating now. We got to go 13.
No, beep it out. Even if you bleep it out, like, I've got me mad. I'm fired up now. All right.
That's a rare curse right there.
Modern day. So we're going modern day. That could be like retired, but
yeah, let's go like 1990 on. Like so basically like our childhood to now.
All right. Me or you?
I'll go. Jeter. Yeah. Jeter was the first one that came to my head.
I'm going to start with Bonds. Well, are we just talking about hitting, or are we talking about like really true impact on the game? I know you said Cy Young on the, so yeah, Jeter has to be on there. So I'll go with Bonds will be my first guy. You go Jeter, I'll go Bonds, and I'll see. I need to I'm still piecing it together.
The next one was hard for me because I went Rivera, and I couldn't pick a starting pitcher. I was thinking Randy Johnson, Pedro, Greg Maddux. Like, I don't know who the pitcher was. Kershaw doesn't feel right.
Yeah. No, the guys that are still playing right now, I couldn't put on that list. So I'm going to say I went Bonds. Oh, man. This is really hard. Really, really hard. Yeah, I don't mind the Rivera pick. Ken Griffey. So that I'm going to go Bonds and Ken Griffey Jr. to start.
Fair. Jeter and Albert.
Pujols has to be 3 for me. And I'm paused at 3. Like, I want to have Jeter on the list.
Jeter was the first one in my head. Jeter, like when I thought Mount Rushmore, Jeter was the first guy to pop into my head.
Pinstripes.
Surprised me.
Pinstripes, Yankee, World Series winner, 0 MVPs, right?
I mean, if we're looking at it from a statistic,
I know, I get it. I'm trying to think of a pitcher. I was gonna go to I was doing the same thing you were. I was going to like Clemens, Johnson, Schilling.
I think Clemens, Pedro. If you looked at WAR, Clemens would win. He's got the highest career WAR.
Yeah, that's why. I think Clemens he was just a little bit weird. It was funky at the end. He was out at the beginning of the year, came back. So
I think Jeter, because he played with the Yankees for so long. So like Clemens went Boston, Toronto, New York.
Yeah.
You get a guy like Cal Ripken. Who
I was going to say either
doesn't
Ripken or
talk
George Brett, like George Brett.
Guys that played their whole career in one place, to me,
Yeah.
there's a little bit more there because it's like their brand. It's like they're established in a different way.
Yeah.
Current player only.
Trout. I think we're both mutually agreeing on Trout.
Yeah, I think Kershaw has to be on there and that's more
it's
like
weird. He's a West Coaster. It's just so weird to me. I get it.
If you look at his numbers and his production.
But we talked about not looking at numbers. I would never go to Kershaw without looking at numbers.
Well, you just know that. You just know his. To me, because he is a West Coast guy, I don't get to see him every start. My biggest experience with him is him not executing the playoffs. So, I know his numbers and I know like he's a generational talent. I know it's right, but
does he have a shot to get to 300? Does anybody?
I don't even know. I don't know what that number is.
1 something, 2 something, maybe.
He has 100. He's 175 and 76.
I was gonna say 180.
Career 2.43 ERA, pretty good in 13 years.
All right, so you're putting Kershaw on. I'm gonna put that on hold.
And if you go for another starting pitcher, I feel like you need to have a pitcher in there. Who else?
Yeah,
Verlander, Scherzer.
No, I'm going to Cabrera. I don't like pitchers. I don't have to do anything.
And I got Cabrera too.
All right, here's my third one. Ortiz.
I've thought about him.
Sorry, it's a hitter in me. I mean, listen, the impact that guy made on the franchise here. He might as well not even spend any time with the Twins because of the impact that he made here. And I would say I'm like Cal and Griffey were my guys when I was growing up. It's weird to not like I'm trying to think about like a catcher. You have to go.
Pudge, Yachty.
Yeah. Like, but in the active catchers, it would have been more modern day. I would have been more likely to say Fisk or
Posey.
Carter or I don't know. But I'm done. That's my Rushmore.
And that's doing Mount Rushmore. Very good. That was good. It's a hard conversation. It really is.
No matter what you do, somebody's going to feel like the other person's wrong. I think the thing that we do well is just agree to agree. Really. I hate when people are like,
for sure.
I hate when people are like, no, Ted Williams is way better than Carl Yastrzemski or Babe Ruth, or I'm like, what? What an arbitrary conversation to be having.
I think that's why, like, in a lot of regards, you have to throw the numbers out for a conversation like that, because it's like, how does that player make people feel?
Exactly. At the end of the day, it's gonna come down to what's your opinion, what's your feeling about this person. You ever heard of cognitive dissociation? It's either dissociation or disassociation.
Go ahead. You've been talking about it a lot lately, so
introduce
the Pickle audience.
It's whatever's already in your brain as an adult. Like the further you get into adulthood and having predisposition to something, the more difficult it'll be for you to break away from it. We live in a day and age of a lot of that right now, right? Like, it's almost impossible because when push comes to shove, you can find so much information that will justify either side of the argument that you continue to reaffirm it in your own brain, which is why I think, we're so polarized. It's so difficult. So like, why does my opinion matter? I don't understand. Why should my opinion matter when it comes to something completely, it's not going to make an impact on the world. Like, look, if you're a world leader and you have to make a decision based on, some gray area facts, like, at some point you're going to have to make a decision and kind of stand by it. And you try to do the best you can, but we're talking about practice. Practice.
You just said it's an opinion. So
but like, why do people take it so personal when somebody has a different opinion than them? Like, why do people want to be like, no, about this in particular? Like, Ted Williams is way better than Willie Mays. Like, you don't know.
There's zero benefit to being right in that conversation.
Yeah, it's not like you win a prize. You get no job for being right at that. You get no $1 million.
Speaking of trying to be right all the time, segue here. Speaking of trying to be right, the topic title is "What is Jeff Frye doing?" ? Subtopic: Does he have any base of reality? Is this dude just making stuff up or tweeting rumors that he hears? And then what does this do to the discourse of baseball development? So,
all right, so wait, anybody that's not watching this on a webcast, the face I'm making it's kind of like tongue out, eyes droopy if you're listening to the podcast. That's how I feel about this. But anyway, continue.
Yeah. So what happened this week was Jeff Frye, noted Shigon Nation leader, attacker of hitting drills, just curmudgeon at this point, I guess. Also took the bait on our fake post, which is in less than 20 minutes. He took the bait. So hopefully by the time we post this, he's posted a drill swinging a ladder. That was a joke that he didn't understand was a joke. God, so good. It's so good that he was like, oh yeah. And I want to call it the ultimate launch angle drill because the ladder makes you think in terms of hitting the ball higher.
Wow, you're just going to different layers. Nice.
Yep. So his whole shtick is hate baseball, hate anything creative. The old school way was better. Numbers suck. But he came after Driveline. Driveline has gone through litigation in the past when people have come after them. So coming after them, making accusations, fairly risky, I would say. So I've heard the rumor that Driveline contracted with an MLB team, had a bunch of players go through the system, that the team did not renew the contract. That's what I heard. I don't know anything about injury rates or anything. Jeff Frye's coming out saying he heard a rumor that like 65% of the guys needed Tommy John or something like that. Like huge numbers. Like he hates weighted balls. He hates like to say a 65% injury rate.
Yeah. How many people how many pitchers in general have Tommy John? Like 1 out of every 10, maybe? Is that like a good guess or a bad guess? 1 out of every 20?
I don't know what the number is.
It's like
65 is
of big league pitchers.
It's what?
It's like 50% of big league pitchers or
So
something.
1 out of every 2.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Anyway, so Jeff Frye came at them. Driveline responded saying, Jeff, you're an idiot, basically. Here's something that I think is really funny about Jeff Frye. He tweeted recently, like, "Oh, there's no one way to do things right. You got to find what works for you." So now every time he tweets something that's negative, people just post that picture. They screenshot that tweet that's like, "There's no one way to do it," and then he goes off on Twitter, being old man yelling at a cloud, being like, "This is wrong," and then people are just hammering him with this. There's his own words, and he never replies. Anytime you confront him, he doesn't do anything about it. This is the thing I want to say. He did a video with John Madden, the You Go Pro Baseball, and he told his whole story. Like, for a guy that like rails against anybody else in the world for doing media and like promotion, he's a really good self-promoter. So he goes on this video and he tells his whole story about he went to a workout, had the best day of his life, hit like a bunch of homers, like first, like completely out of character, hit a bunch of homers. And that was the reason he got invited to the draft, at Rangers Park or whatever it was called at the time. And then he went there and he had a really good workout and hit a homer with a wood bat. And it was like, oh, it changed his whole life, the fact that he hit a homer. But then he like spends his whole life railing against launch angle. And like, so the thing that caused his career to happen is the thing he hates. Then he told a story about being in the lobby in the minor leagues. And they were playing like wiffle ball and he copied Ruben Sierra. And he's like, oh, wow, I got way more pop doing this. Went out in the game, hit up like, I don't know if he had a double or hit a homer, but basically like credits like his major league career with a swing change to a big leg kick with like big moves. But he just rails on that now. Like you can't emulate. It's too advanced. Anything a major league hitter does is advanced. It's just the irony of this guy.
It's hypocrisy.
So thick. Yeah. It's just too thick.
So I hate hypocrisy, right? I've said this. And I think this is why people get irritated. I think most people hate hypocrisy. So you take one stance on one thing, then switch to the other side. And in your own mind, you're justifying it because it's different. So it's a whole ends justify the means of your argument. And really, first of all, Twitter is such a terrible forum to have educated baseball discussion. But for some reason, it's the quickest way for people to see what somebody else's opinion is. So we take that as gospel, first of all. Like, I'm going to give Jeff Frye the benefit of the doubt and say Jeff is annoyed with what the perceived notion of what the generation is, right? And I get that because I am too.
Yeah, there's some really terrible instruction going on right now.
Yeah, well, there's without a doubt.
Just like there was 10 years ago and 10 years
exactly. So to sit here and just kind of publicly like call everyone out and say, essentially what he's saying is his reasoning behind why everything sucks now is because people aren't going through self-discovery, right? Like his means of doing it was through self-discovery. Like I went and played wiffle ball and I just randomly did Ruben Sierra. I did a leg kick and it randomly worked. So his opinion is that everybody should have to go through self-discovery. Now, what I'll argue there, Bobby, and this is what pisses me off, is that for 27 years I played baseball with the wrong mechanics. Terrible mechanics, like just bad. Like, and I was just figuring stuff out on my own every day. And the only message that I heard was the wrong one. So, and what I mean by the wrong one, and it's not even the wrong one because swing down, stay through, take your knob to the ball, whatever. Like in reality, it was wrong. In practicality and how it applied to me hitting, like it allowed me to do certain things. Like I could get to any fastball I ever wanted to hit. I could get to the ball in. I could pull the ball with the best of them. But I think it caused limitations. Now, as a hitter, I was able to get hits because I focused on getting hits, right? Like I wanted to get hits. And I had what we call hit ability, right? Like you're either you can hit or you can't, one of those things. Like, and that's just to me willingness combined with a few, intangible skills like hand-eye coordination, a little bit of athleticism, the ability to rotate, whatever. I get annoyed when people think that everyone has to go through their own self-discovery in the journey. Like what this day and age has allowed for is for people to get information in droves. And that allows for better self-discovery at a younger age. Now, the problem, if Jeff wants to have a problem with anything, he should have a problem with the fact that we're not allowing enough athletes to go through self-discovery. We're not allowing enough athletes to explore because we're trying to pump a singular message. Now, does he think he's being productive in doing what he's doing? Is the opposite, right? Like it's counterproductive because now you're just kind of a douche who's like writing stupid crap to try to get attention. Because at the end of the day, it's a huge cry for attention. It's like, oh, well, this guy's screaming bloody murder, so I'm going to scream it louder and say he's an idiot. And then it just turns out there's nothing productive. Like we don't have productive rhetoric. We don't have productive dialogue anymore. My favorite things growing up about the game were getting in those roundtable talks and just talking through it. And we have so many mediums to be able to do that now and so many vehicles that it really upsets me that we don't take high level baseball people, like the people that know how to share and collaborate and put them in the same room more often. Like even like, conventions, events, anything. Like ABCA was virtual this year. And I know the landscape's weird, but somebody needs to do a better job of getting that together. Like bring in the highest level thinkers and like, let's have constructive dialogue amongst people that really understand their side of the industry instead of just like pow, pow, pow.
I'm really big on Eric Cressy talks about this a lot. He's like, don't point out a problem unless you have a solution. Because otherwise it's just noise. It's just, you're just creating drama and you're creating negativity without actually like taking the next step. So you're not part of the solution. You're just amplifying a problem. So I've had a couple interactions with Jeff on Twitter, and every time I try to point out something or get him to actually like, he rails against instruction, but never provides instruction. Like he's got a bunch of videos where he talks about how not to do things, and he makes these funny videos and then he yells "Shigon." But I've yet to see him provide an actual like, hey, here's a drill to do. Here's like what I thought about. Here's
his solution is just go play at the Little League field and have fun. That's it. But what's fun about baseball if you suck? There's nothing fun about baseball if you stink and can't get hits. Period.
Well, then they'll rarely. There was a thing on, I think it was Preston Wilson. I think we already talked about this, where he's like, you should never use hit tracks. Why should kids know their exit velocity? It's like hitting the ball hard is fun. Like, okay, let's circle back a little bit. Babe Ruth started hitting homers, and he became like one of the most well-known figures on the planet. Like, we're still talking about him because he did something new, and it was like, would Jeff Frye be railing against Babe Ruth if Twitter existed back then? Like, who does this guy think he is? He's the worst. He's damaging the game.
It's it's terrifying to think about how people really like just get caught in their own worlds. And if you break their own rules for how development should happen, or and now people are saying, well, like people are trying to monetize it and you're an internet hitting guy. Until you take the time to really go figure out what that person does in the cage, one-on-one, what the discourse is like, how the rhetoric is, like how the conversations are going back and forth, and how much of an impact, like a positive impact, that person can really be making on somebody else's life, then who the hell am I to judge? Who am I? Why should you be allowed to judge? Now, if the thing that you're teaching is blatantly wrong or incomplete, then I'll be like, yeah, you're an idiot. You shouldn't be talking out loud. Like if you're doing stupid drills that are just don't matter, they're promoting the wrong things, I'm probably going to be a little bit judgmental, and that's going to be okay, but I'll still take the time to listen when the time comes, right? Like I'll take the time to be part of the conversation or to engage and really see where it goes. Now, what I've experienced in my life more often than not is funny, because every time you and I would go around hitting people other than a select few, they were terrified to even engage in the conversation. Like they just deflected, right? They deflected to you and your thoughts and your ideas, because probably they stole, like they don't really have a true understanding of what's actually going on. They just get good at repeating other people's stuff. So that's what a true teacher does, is they go through the exploration, they learn the information in a plethora of different ways so that they can present it at its grassroots. Most people out there are just copying what somebody else is saying, and they don't really understand that. They don't know the feels associated with it. So, it's annoying.
There's a lot of parrots. I call them parrots, where they're repeating words that they've seen. People that lack feel, and it's when you get in the cage with them, it's very, very, very easy to understand that they haven't worked through the failure. They haven't swung the bat themselves. They haven't tried it. They're just like, oh, well, this guy said this thing online, so just get in the same position and say these words, and it's all gonna happen. One thing about Jeff, that just to close my end of the topic anyway, is so much has changed since he stopped playing. And I don't know, I know he was an agent or is an agent, so he's been in the game or around the game, but it's annoying when people don't take the time to like figure out the reality of the industry. Like, what is the current status of, what I love when people call me an internet hitting guy. It's like, well, I'm in the cage for 12 hours a day for 10 years. So like, if that makes me an internet hitting guy, then okay. Like I'm working at it. I'm trying, I'm in the cage with real humans, with high level players, with low level players, with, 7-year-olds to all-stars. Like, what is the internet hitting guy? The guy that literally just reads tweets and then says it out loud or repeats it.
Yeah.
So you have to put some time in to get a grasp of the current landscape. And like, I'd be curious to know how many guys Jeff Frye reached out to like talk to him and be like, hey, let me learn what you're doing. Let me get a feel for what's going on. I've had many conversations with coaches who are open to that dialogue, that want to learn, that are trying to understand what's happening, as opposed to just, right from the get-go, just trashing it, disparaging it, saying it's the worst thing ever, starting a hashtag and Twitter movement just to talk trash, instead of like spending like a week, 2 weeks reaching out to people and like trying to learn.
Yeah. That's the biggest problem, is nobody wants to actually learn. Like they don't actually want to learn. They just want to believe that their way is right. They want to believe that the things that the way they learned was the best. And it's a crock of crap.
It's a lack of curiosity to me. And that's when, 10 years ago now, 11 years ago, when I was first getting into this whole swing thing, I would always tell people, like, just spend 10 minutes looking at video, just 10.
Objectively.
Just look at video for 10 minutes, like film your swing, because back then video was not as available as it is now.
Imagine VHS, rewind, fast forward.
Yeah, I mean, it was the first time you could get like really getting a volume of frame by frame video. Just 10 minutes looking at video frame by frame, like looking at it objectively. And then like, if you're just after 10 minutes, if you're going to say, you know what, this is terrible, this is garbage, you're wrong, so be it. But at the end of those 10 minutes, if you say, maybe there's something going on here, like my curiosity is piqued and I'm going to at least give this an open opportunity to explore. Like, that's all I'm ever asking for.
The irony of what you just said is the fact that I just got a text message from a college player, and talking about timing and the onus. The question was, hey, have you ever been early and felt late? And player in question has a tendency to kind of set the hands back early and like super early, and then it's set and it stands still and it's go again, right? And I go, yeah, I've felt that all the time. The biggest thing that I learned my first year that really was, I think, part of the holy grail for me was learning how to just and keep it in motion, right? Keep that rhythm and that movement going on. And like, it's crazy because he just texted me a video and he's he's at like a tee with a net in front of him. And he's like, is this better? And it's still like super like tight and conservative. And I said, you're hitting off a tee into a net by yourself. Like, try some stuff. Like, just go explore, dude. And then I sent a clip of Ken Griffey, and it's like, yeah, like out here, like figure out, like, if you don't know where that is, like, you can't know what's right for you. So go try it. Like, go feel it. And today might be different. Today might be different than tomorrow. And tomorrow might be different than the next day. It's crazy because it's just it's an ongoing evolution that allows us to really identify who we are. And the scary part, and this is sort of something I said the other day, is there is no best, right? There is no best. And what I mean by that is, and I mean over the course of time, right? Because I can hit 349 with 46 homers and 142 RBIs and be the MVP of the league, right? And there's still 350 with 47 and 125. You know what I mean? Like, there's more. There's more that you could have got. And it's so unfair of us as individuals to either put limitations or have expectations of what the numbers actually should be, because the only way to achieve that is by really ingraining yourself in figuring out how to be the best player you can be in any given moment in time. And it's scary to think about because you can go down some rabbit holes. And we got people that are trying to like not let people explore and tell them, oh, Driveline's the devil, or this guy's the devil, or this guy sucks at teaching hitting, when the reason why this guy exists is because you weren't good enough at teaching, because you weren't opening the book wide enough. You weren't getting to that page of letting the player go into fantasy land and say, let me try to be like him. How many times do you hear when you're a kid, don't do what the guy on TV is doing? How many times do you hear that? How annoying is that to think about now? Don't do what the guy on TV is doing. Oh, so don't do what the best player in the world is doing?
Pretty brutal.
Like, how irrational is that now that I think about it? I thought I wasn't allowed to be like big leaguers. Is that crazy? And all I want to do is be a big leaguer. It's nuts. I hear high school coaches say it today. And look, I get it. There are times when, like, as a player, yeah, you swung and missed 14 times in a row. You should probably stop trying to do a huge leg kick and barrel tip. But who am I to tell you that it's not good? I can tell you, like, look, you suck right now trying what you're trying. I get what you're trying, but you're not hitting the ball. So maybe, like, let's go back to, like, make contact first. You know what I mean?
One of my favorite questions I would ask hitters of any level, really, is what do you take most pride in as a hitter? And it's such a simple question, but it'll get you to some truth about who that player is. If you ask a player, like, what do you take pride in as a hitter? And they're like, oh, my swing mechanics are really good. I'd be terrified to like try to like to have that player on my team. It's like the conversations you have about grinding, about not giving at bats away, about executing, about winning battles, winning moments. That's the game.
The simplest answer to that question, what do I take the most pride in hitting, is I hate losing way more than I like winning. Period. Like, I don't like making outs. And you're going to have an awfully tough time getting me out because I'm not giving in. Like, I'm not saying I'm the best hitter on the planet, but, like, I'm going to make it really uncomfortable for you to get me out. No matter what the circumstances are. You can be throwing 114. I'm going to figure out how to try to compete with you. And it might not be this pitch. It might not be the next pitch. It might not be the pitch after that. But I'm going to figure it out at some point because I'm going to do everything I have to do to try to figure out how to hit you.
And when you're on defense, you know when you're facing that hitter. You know when that guy's up there grinding and competing and not giving at bats away. Some guys get up there, you throw them like a lazy curveball, they roll over, they run to first, they go back to the dugout. It's just another, whatever. They just existed. It's not personal.
It's all will and desire, bro. At the end of the day, it just comes down to all that stuff.
And that's not something you get by obsessing over swing mechanics.
No, you get it by obsessing over hating losing. I hate losing. God, sorry.
All right, let's jump into post show. We got NFL reactions and some MMA discussion.
You want to talk about somebody that hates losing? He doesn't lose.
We were both one. Wait, hold on. We were both 1 for 2 on our predictions. I didn't realize that the Bucs had beaten the Packers in the regular season. I didn't even know they played. So I might have looked at that game a little differently. And the Bucs defense is pretty impressive. Who's number 45? That guy's a beast. Just running around the middle, just causing problems.
Yeah. Lamont David and
I did have the Chiefs just putting up points whenever they wanted to, and you're like, oh, the Bills defense is pretty good.
Said, dude, listen, I told you the Chiefs were going to win. I said I would love for the Bills to win. This is why I don't do predictions, because you asked me in baseball. No, this is bullcrap. You asked me in baseball. I said, look, dude, I don't want to get whoever's going to win the game is going to win the game. Can I just be a fan? If I had, look, the ideal scenario is Brady versus Mahomes, I think, right? Because it's just whatever. It's just whatever. It is what it is. But I don't like the Chiefs are just like, nah, I don't know. It's too easy. It's just too easy.
I texted you guys last night. It looked like they had 16 guys on the field on defense. The Chiefs were just everywhere on defense.
Kansas City plays super fast, right? Like they play fast on offense, they play fast on defense. And that's what makes them who they are. So if you're not playing fast, and the thing that I thought could counteract the Chiefs offense is Buffalo plays fast on defense. They don't play big, but the Chiefs are so dynamic. Like they just pull stuff. I don't even know what they do. Like Mahomes threw a ball underhand to Kelsey on that, let's get the tight end lost in the middle of the line of scrimmage. So he looks like he's not there, and then whoop, flip him the ball.
Kelsey,
they do that a lot.
He's wide open. Like literally nobody touched him. Nobody within 10 yards of him 80% of the time, it felt like. He'd be like, oh, I'm just going to stand in the line of scrimmage for a second, and then I'm wide open. Throw it to me.
Yeah.
Crazy.
They run really.
How many catches do you have? He had like 18 catches, it felt like.
Kelsey? Yeah. I didn't really watch. I literally tried to not watch that game because I was so. Let me put it this way, and I hate this that I'm going to say this out loud for people that are Bills fans, and I played in Buffalo, and I like it as a city. I could not be less interested in a football game than one that the Buffalo Bills or the Baltimore Ravens are playing in. So, like the week before, they played each other, and there was no part of me that actually wanted to watch it. Like literally, I just didn't want to watch that game at all. 0%. Now, you put my guy Tommy, and like Mahomes I like, right? He's fun to watch. But you put my guy Tommy out there, dude, it's just fun. And, it is what it is, bro. I just want to watch that stuff. It's my guy. Dude, he's going to his 10th Super Bowl.
I saw a stat that he's made percentage-wise. His Super Bowl appearance percentage is higher than Steph Curry's 3-point make percentage. So there's a better chance that Tom Brady makes a Super Bowl at the beginning of the year than Steph Curry will make a 3-pointer. That's absurd. Like he's the best 3-point shooter of all time.
What he's done,
stat, I love it,
is astounding. And I'm going to put Patrick on notice right now. Sends a text. He's like, Brady's unwillingness to take a hit. Granted, because of his age, it's probably better for him. Like all this guy does is figure out how to have more points on the board than the other team. It doesn't matter how he does. Every step he takes on that field is try to figure out how to have more points than the other team. And by the way, one of the interceptions was bad, right? Like they needed
he had 2 punts and a tip.
Exactly. Thank you very much, Bobby Tewksbury, not football analyst, for saying he had 2 punts and a tip. 2 punts, because it was like their second
drops too.
Dude, they were behind the sticks all game. They were in second and third and long. The first drive, when they went through the first drive and he converted 3 third and longs, I was like, it's over. They win. 3 third and longs. You know how hard it is to convert on 3rd and 8, 3rd and 9 3 times in a drive in the NFL? Like the probability is that, and he did the same thing when he beat the Chiefs 2 years ago in the AFC Championship game. The guy is just like when you need the dude to make a play, that's what he does. Let's put it this way. There's a 90% chance he makes the play in the situation when you need it, and there's a 10% chance that he doesn't. Period. End of story. Like the 2-point conversion against the Colts 15 years ago is still like, I'm still shocked he hasn't made that play. The 2-point conversion against the Broncos 6 years ago or whatever it was, I'm still shocked he hasn't made that play. Those are like the two that come off the top of my head. This guy just knows how to win better than everybody else. It's unbelievable. You want to talk about being underappreciated? Like the fact that people want to dog on him. He just changed teams during COVID in the middle of the world being ridiculous and like had 5 minutes with each receiver. He's like, oh, your name's Mike? Cool. What number are you? Like, oh, who's this other guy? Goodwin? No, Godwin? Oh, cool. I can throw you the ball too. Gets his boy off the shelf, gets Robbie G off the shelf to come back and play. Guy gets 1 target a game, and it's the biggest catch of the day. Golly, what a stud. What a stud.
All right, who's going to win? Super Bowl pick.
The team that scores most points, but don't think for 1 second I ain't taking the Bucs every day of the week and twice on Sunday, kid.
Points? What do you got? Score.
It's a 30-point game. It's not going to get away from them one way or another. You pointed out number 45, Devin Smith, that the Bucs defense is playing on all cylinders. They're the number 1 rush defense in the NFL. You know, Kansas City is going to be a little bit different. They try to get outside. They get on the perimeter. You know, Edwards-Helaire is a nice little back. Like they've got some fire, like the Williams kid out of the backfield, Tyreek Hill on the sprint, on the jet sprints to the outside.
Somebody needs to do an edit of him with the super bad. He's the fastest kid alive.
Dude, did you see when he did? Did you see when he like got out of? It's a video. He plays a video game by himself.
Yeah,
he should have got tackled by 7 people at once, and he missed all of them. He almost scored a touchdown.
He went to go outside, and then he just made guys commit, and then he just turned the other way and ran across the field.
Unbelievable.
Guys don't run diagonal across the field in the NFL. That doesn't happen.
He does because he can. He's like Bo Jackson in what was it? The
Bo Jackson's mini me.
No, remember the football game where you could, if you had Bo Jackson, you could just run. Huh? Tecmo. He was the only player. He could zigzag and nobody could catch him on the game because his rating was too high.
Well,
Not that they had rating.
They had him and Marcus Allen. It was almost cheating. I was always the Giants in that game because Lawrence Taylor, you just come around the outside and run over the quarterback. You don't have to tackle. You just run him over. It was awesome.
Dude, I'm just – the NFL couldn't have got a better storyline this year. I mean –
Pretty cool that they're hosting. It's the first time the home team is ever involved.
Yeah. The guy just won 3 games on the road in the postseason to go to the Super Bowl. Can we appreciate that for 2 seconds? He beat the number 2 seed at home and the number 1 seed at home. What?
Well, how about there's a lot of people on social media talking about the GOAT right now. People that have hated Tom Brady for a long time, and they're saying, hey, this guy, indisputable. You can't.
Yeah, and now the whole paradigm of, the Belichick Brady. Like, Belichick's a great coach, dude. He didn't have the horses to run the race this year. It was so obvious. But if I was ever going to take my chances, it was with Tommy because that guy has the ball in his hands. And, like, my favorite thing that Arian said about him is that, he lets him coach on the field. That's what he should be. He is a true player coach. Like, he sees the field. He understands the plays. I went back and watched Tom versus Time this week. Guy's a legend, bro. He's unbelievable. I've never had a bigger man crush in my life. Like, it was close with Jordan, but I have just such a deeper rooted appreciation for what Brady's done with just a massive lack of athleticism in relative to, elite athletes. Tom, if you heard that, I hurt your feelings. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to say you're not a good athlete. Like,
Tom Brady was drafted as a catcher. I didn't know that. I knew he was drafted, but I didn't know he was drafted as a catcher.
He hits. Didn't he hit left-handed?
I don't know.
Left-handed, yeah.
So
Could be at Fenway one year.
Mahomes and Allen were both drafted as pitchers because they threw gas, and then Tom Brady catcher.
Tom Brady could hit. I love Tom, dude.
Last post show item: MMA Fight Island. What is? I've been told you have thoughts here. Conor McGregor, go.
First of all, I need to go to Abu Dhabi. Like, I made it very clear. Like, I need to go to Abu Dhabi at some point. I don't know if it's a company getaway trip. Abu Dhabi.
Corporate retreat to Abu Dhabi.
Yeah, like we're going in. Second of all, Conor, I had all this build up, right? Like, I don't think anybody can hate Conor, right? I don't think you can like physically hate. You can if you're fighting against him, but he's such an entertainer that really, you just, there's build up, there's momentum. He changed the sport, changed how much guys make in the sport, really, right? Brought attention to it. And he did some things, right? First got to hold 2 different weight division titles at once. Patrick alluded to the fact that he's never really defended, which kind of sucks. And it's true. He went and did his thing and made $1 billion fighting Floyd Mayweather, which is cool. Like, good for him that he had that opportunity. But I want him to be Khabib, like 29-0 with Conor's personality. You know what I mean? I want him to be unbeatable, and he's not. He's very beatable. And Poirier proved that. Poirier came in with a great game plan. I was just disappointed that he didn't make more adjustments. I felt like he should have, and I don't know. His charisma is like a little bit gone, and not that he's going to change, right? I judge him for that. He's still a legend, but I don't know. I'll tell you what. Watch out for this Chandler guy. He called out Khabib in the presser, and he said, "Yeah, come back and get your chance at 30-0, but I got a feeling you're going to be 29 in Chandler." Like, what a line, bro! What a line! Come on!
Yeah, I don't know much about MMA.
Dude, you got to see this Chandler guy.
I'll say about McGregor, earlier in his career, I just thought he was annoying and loud and brash. Like he just hype the whole thing up and then get beat and then immediately be like, "Oh yeah, I respect my opponent, but I'm still the champ." It's like, no, you just got knocked out. Shut up.
I mean, no,
I understand it now. Like, he's a business guy. He's
no, he had never been knocked out, actually, ever.
Didn't he just get knocked out 2 days ago?
Yeah, he got submitted by Nate Diaz.
I mean, submitted
by. No, it's not. Just FYI.
I'm not an MMA fan. It's the same thing to me.
Keep going. I get it. I'm just.
So I respect his hustle now more than I care about the shtick. So
yeah,
I'm all in. Let's go.
I want
be entertaining. I'm in,
bro. If you come in hot in your first fight in the UFC and you beat a top 10 guy, and then he picked him apart. Like, Hooker didn't even belong in the same ring as him. Dude, and then you got to watch his post fight. Right in the ring, he called out everybody. He was like, and he did it with class, and he's like a really classy, really nice, polite, well-spoken guy. And then he's in the presser, and he's like, it's like, Khabib, you can come back and be 30-0. All the respect in the world, man. You're the best fighter, but I'm going to beat you. You're going to be 29 in Chandler. 29 in Chandler? What? That line is money. I got to start using that. You're going to be 31 in Colabello. No, that doesn't have the same flow.
It's like you're in the book. That's the equivalent of using the book.
Get everybody else out. Nah, there's no way to really say it. That's such a sick line, 29 in Chandler. He had to have, he rehearsed that, right? It's like, that's not off the cuff. Because if that's off the cuff, he's way better than me. Because I'm pretty good at flybys.
That might be a line in MMA, like an industry kind of jargon type thing.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard, I guess.
I saw one analogy that I think it was on Barstool, that he's the new Mike Tyson. McGregor is. In terms of he's still going to promote fights. He's still going to get paid. He's probably not going to win.
I'm excited to watch Chandler, man. Poirier basically said he won't fight him. Poirier's a good dude. You can tell he's first team all human.
Yeah, my biggest takeaway was I don't want to get kicked in the calf. That's what I learned this week.
That's pretty much you'd rather get punched in the face than kicked in the calf. Is yes, the rule that today's general rule of thumb.
You're gonna get punched in the face. So
exactly, because then you have to deal with both.
First. Yeah.
You get it.
Very good. That's it. That was a long pickle, but I think we got a lot of good stuff in there. Thanks for joining us. If anybody's made it this far, like, share, subscribe, smash that like button. All that stupid stuff everybody says.
I'm laughing really hard.
It's good to actually feel like a human again. So we got that going for us. Last Monday, a week ago today, I was getting COVID tested and coughing and could barely stand up. So
now you're back.
Negative COVID test, little prednisone. We're back. So, all right, that's our show, episode 24. Pickle.